This lesson is for Year 9 for the week beginning the 8th of June. This is lesson 3. Again, just a little bit of a reminder about what is in this PowerPoint. So make sure you understand what you should be doing, what the task is. Remember, you only need to do writing when it says the word task. And again, if you're not sure about anything, let us know. So your title for today's lesson, what were the origins of the Cold War? All right, so have that really clear in your notes. Okay, today we're going to define some key terms. We're going to get our heads around obviously some key kind of like ideas of the origins, the beginning of the Cold War. We're going to explain those early years. So we're going to look at some conflict that's going to happen between America and Russia over things like the wartime alliances and meetings that happened at the end of World War II. Also about some of the early issues to do with things like the Truman Doctrine, which will be explained, and something called the Marshall Plan, which will also be explained. And then our last learning objective is to link kind of like these different ideas all together. All right, we're going to start with a quick little focused recap quiz. So you need to do now write down 5 answers to 5 questions. You can obviously look at your notes from last lesson. It's much better to obviously get these right than just to have a guess or to leave them blank. So which country was communist? Which country was the most democratic? Which country controlled business, jobs and the economy? Which country exploded the first atomic bomb? Which country invaded Europe from the east to defeat Nazi Germany? So the answer is either America for any of those or Russia, aka the Soviet Union, for any of those. All right, so make sure you're happy with that. Then, as it says here, you don't need to write anything down, you're just thinking of some answers. So have a look at this picture, pause it. Right, did you think of these answers? So we've got Churchill here, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, right, known as FDR or just Roosevelt, and then Stalin over there. All right, read the bits of information. All right, really interesting about Roosevelt in terms of his actual own poor health and how they always hid that from the American people. It very much alludes to that in the film Pearl Harbor, if you've ever watched that. You see him in a wheelchair, but again, remember that's all hidden. So these 3 key individuals, remember they were friends in World War II, but friction and tension is going to start to show between them. So there were a set of 2 meetings. So we just talked about that picture here, and that's February 1945 at a place called Yalta. And then a couple of months later, in the May of 1945, the big 3 met again. Though, if you can see, he has changed. Right, Roosevelt, then Truman, because Roosevelt dies in the April of 45, so he can't obviously be at the next conference. Just a little map for you, just so you know. Potsdam is in Germany. Yalta is in what was obviously the USSR on the Black Sea. So we've got a bit of reading to do first of all. Yep, there's quite a lot of reading to do on that slide, but the next slide is reduced and is the support slide. So if you're struggling with all of that reading, move yourself on to the next slide. I've colour coded it a little bit. Green is stuff that the 3 countries agreed on. Red, yeah, they weren't so sure about. So you can already start to see that there is a tension between these 3 countries. As I said, if that was too much reading, have a look at that. Right, it's there to support your learning. Okay, task. So now you need to do a little bit of writing. What issues did the Yalta Conference, so that meeting between those 3 countries, those 3 individuals, raise, which could be a problem in the Cold War? I.e., what tension is there? As I've put here, think about what countries were mentioned, think about if free elections were going to be possible. Remember the different beliefs between the USA and the USSR. Right, support slide to go with this. I've given you a few little structure points just to think about. So again, if you're not sure what to do, have a little look at those bullet points, those sentence starters. And then that should focus you in being able to answer that first task. Right, then a couple of months later, there was another conference, this time at Potsdam. Again, a little bit of reading there. If that's too much, move yourself on to the next one. And just do your reading, make sure you understand what the key points were that were talked about. After reading about the Potsdam conference, complete the 3 sentences on the next 3 slides. So, this is your sentence that you need to complete. Germany would lead to tension because. So, how is Germany leading to tension? There again, there's a little bit of information that will help you. Reparations. Reparations is money. All right, we talked about reparations way back when in the Treaty of Versailles. It's about money. How's that going to lead to tension? Again, have a little read. And then Soviet policy, remember that's Russia. Soviet policy in Eastern Europe would lead to tension because, again, read that little bit of information. So we're just looking for 3 sentences. The sentence starter is always there. Right, next, just a little bit of reading about the division of Europe, the infamous Iron Curtain, a phrase that Winston Churchill came up with. And it's all about the division of Europe, East, West, East under communism, West democratic and free. Some great little pictures there just to illustrate what we mean. We are going to be looking in lesson 4 on Eastern Europe in a lot more detail, so don't worry too much about it, it's just a little bit of information just so you can start to see there is clearly problems right at the end of World War II. Right, now we're going to see something called the Truman Doctrine. So we're now in the year of 1947 and tension is rising. So read through that information. Truman, remember, was the American president. Doctrine means it's his belief, his idea, how he wants kind of like American foreign policy, so American attitudes towards the rest of the world to be run. And clearly the main thing that they are worried about is going to be communism. Again, key understanding there is something called containment. All right, we've all got containers in our house, right? You put stuff in a container to keep it safe. Yeah, so containment. Again, try and link that to the idea of communism. Little support slide, I've picked out some keywords there. And a little bit of writing to do for this in terms of our task. You are either kind of transform into a picture what is meant by containment, or explain in a sentence what was meant by containment. So pick one of those 2. Right, next, the Marshall Plan. It explains who Marshall was. All right, so General George Marshall, he's American. And they're talking about some pretty huge sums of money. And money at a time when Europe needed it. Britain didn't have any money. It's the end of World War II. We spent out well and truly. But yet America had money. It's a great bargaining tool. Again, there's a little bit of shortened information on it. So that's your support slide. Great little visual there. You know, lots and lots of problems in post-war Europe. Again, a little bit of information about the Marshall Plan. Look at where the cash is going. Britain, France, Italy, West Germany, the Netherlands, Austria, Belgium, Greece, Denmark, Norway, Turkey, Ireland, Sweden, Portugal. None of that money's going to Russia. So, now for a little bit of writing. The Marshall Plan promised to give non-communist countries. Right, now we want you to do a little conclusion. So we looked at the start of this lesson about the conferences, the meetings that happened at Yalta and Potsdam. That's what it means by wartime conferences. We've looked at the Truman Doctrine and the concept of containment, and we've looked at the Marshall Plan. So between those 3, 1, Which one caused an increase in tension between the USA and the USSR? So which one do you think is the issue that's actually going to really cause lots of problems between America and the USSR? So we've got a little bit of advice. Then we've got a support slide to go with. So I've given you a little bit more information just about each one of those, just to remind you. Then we've got our grade 6 and above task. So thinking about our GCSE style questions, how useful are the sources? So 1, 2, 3, they're your sources. For an historian finding out about the Yalta Conference. So we're only looking for one sentence to be written about each of these, so only 3 sentences in total. I've given you a little bit of structure there and some ideas to think about. Right, we're not looking for loads and loads on that. And that concludes lesson 3 on the origins of the Cold War.